Hi, fourth graders. So we are continuing on with the one and only Ivan, and we're a little over halfway in our story now, and we've reached a big change, a sad change, but a very important change. What change am I talking about? Yeah, George told Mac that Stella's foot was really bad. It was infected, and George asked Mac to call a vet. And Mac, for more than one reason, but one of the main ones being money, opted not to call the vet. He said, we're not making enough money right now. I can't call the vet every time her foot hurts. And while it's understandable, I guess, he didn't take the best care of Stella, and unfortunately the infection was just too much for her to handle. And so Stella has passed away, and I think maybe she might have known something was coming up because she was so sick and she asked Ivan to do something. What did she ask Ivan to do? Yeah, she asked Ivan, please promise me you'll take care of Ruby. Ruby being the new baby elephant. So maybe Stella wasn't so upset about this new elephant because she was going to be replaced or afraid that she would be replaced. But she didn't want this new baby elephant to live the life that she had led. And so she asks Ivan, please take care of her. Protect her. Protect. That's why Ivan says he's never gotten angry up till now, right? He doesn't have anybody to protect. So for the first time, probably since his sister Tag, he has somebody to protect. It's a big change for Ivan. And Ivan also has to fill the role of storyteller. And so we see Ivan for the first time starting to remember things from his past. So that's where we pick up. If you have a paper copy, I am on page 123. If you are using the PDF, that's page 78. So paper copy, 123. PDF is page 78. This is called The Grunt. I was born in a place humans call Central Africa, in a dense rainforest so beautiful no crayons could ever do it justice. Gorillas don't name their newborns right away the way humans do. We get to know our babies first. We wait to see hints of what might yet be. When they saw how much she loved to chase me around the forest, my parents decided on my twin sister's name, Tag. Oh, how I loved to play tag with my sister. She was nimble. Oh, there's that vocabulary word. She was quick and light on her feet, which is pretty impressive considering she's a gorilla, right? But when I got too close, she would leap onto my unsuspecting father. And there's the word unsuspecting with the prefix un. Then I would join her, and we would bounce on that tolerant belly until he gave us the grunt, the rooting pig sound that meant enough. That game never got old, although my father might have disagreed. Here's one of our prefix words we've used this week, disagreed. So he's saying, maybe Dad got tired of it, but us kids sure didn't. This is chapter 56. It's called Mud. It didn't take long for my parents to find my name. All day long, every day, I made pictures. I drew on rocks and bark and my poor mother's back. I used the sap from leaves. I used the juice from fruit. But mostly, I used mud. And that's why they called me Mud. To a human, mud might not sound like much, but to me, it was everything. look at this. Ivan is remembering his childhood. This is the first time that we've got to hear of Ivan and his mom and dad and his sister, his twin sister. This is big. 57 is called Protector. My family, which humans call a troop, so a group of gorillas is a troop, was just like any other gorilla family. There were 10 of us. My father, the silverback, my mother, and 3 other adult females, a juvenile male called a blackback, and 2 other young gorillas. Tag and I were the babies of the group. We squabbled. Here's a vocabulary word. Squabbled. They argued. They bickered. We squabbled now and then, as families will. But my father knew how to keep us in line with a simple scowl. Does your mom or dad or grandma have that look that they give you when you're doing something wrong? And when you get that look, you know, you better sit up and sit still and be quiet or you're going to get it. Well, Ivan's dad had the scowl. And for the most part, we were happy to do what we were meant to do. To feed and forage and nap and play. The life of a gorilla. Very simple, right? My father was a master at leading us to the ripest fruit for our morning feast and the finest branches for our night nests. He was everything a silverback was meant to be. A guide, a teacher, a protector. And nobody could chest beat like my father. So a silverback is a guide, a teacher, a protector. Do you think that's what Ivan is going to be for Ruby? He did promise. 58 is called A Perfect Life. Gorilla babies and elephant babies and human babies are not so different, except that a gorilla gets to spend the day riding on his mother's back like a cowboy on a horse. Like compared the gorilla riding on the mother to a cowboy on a horse. Use the word like. Simile. It's a pretty great system from the baby's point of view. Slowly, carefully. Ooh, if you do something carefully, a vocabulary word, if it's careful, it's gingerly, slowly, carefully, gingerly. A young gorilla begins to venture farther and farther away from the safety of his mother's arms. He learns the skills that he will need as an adult. How to make a nest of branches. Weave them tightly or they will fall apart in the middle of the night. How to beat your chest. Cup your palms to amplify the sound. How to go vining from tree to tree. Don't let go. So vining, he holds the vine and swings back and forth. So if he's swinging and he lets go, he's going to go plop down on the ground. How to be kind, be strong, be loyal. Very good qualities of a friend, right? Maybe that's why he's such a good friend to Bob. Growing up, gorilla is just like any other kind of growing up. You make mistakes. You play. You learn. You do it all over again. It was, for a while, a perfect life. I love that we're getting to hear Ivan's childhood. This is called The End. One day, a still day when the hot air hummed, the humans came. Now, it's called The End, and humans came. So what do you think is getting ready to happen? Yeah, sometimes humans don't always make the best friends for animals, especially if they are hunters or poachers, or in this case, let's see what they do. This is called Vine. After they captured my sister and me, they put us in a cramped, dark crate that smelled of urine and fear. So these humans were not the best of humans for animals or for the gorillas in the wild. Somehow I knew that in order to live, I had to let my old life die. But my sister could not let go of our home. It held her like a vine stretching across the miles, comforting, strangling. We were still in our crate when she looked at me without seeing, and I knew that the vine had finally snapped. So his sister didn't want to let go of her home, which is understandable. And when she gave up, he knew she had given up. There are some comparisons here. It says the hot air hummed. Can air really hum? That's something more of a person, right? A person can hum. Air, not so much. But it compares hot air humming. Gives it a person characteristic to something that's not a person. This is personification. And then it describes the vine as something that's connecting her to her old life. Chapter 61, this is called The Temporary Human. This is on page 130 if you're in the paper book. It was Mac who pried open that crate. So he's been with Mac ever since he arrived from Africa. Mac who bought me, and Mac who raised me like a human baby. I wore diapers. I drank from a bottle. I slept in human beds, sat in human chairs, listened while human words swarmed around me like angry bees. Swarming angry bees, just like in our passage from Thursday where the bees broke up the fight on the baseball field. Mac had a wife back then, Helen. Helen was quick to laugh, but quick to anger too, especially when I broke something, which was often. Here is what I broke while I lived with Mac and Helen. 1 crib, 46 glasses, 7 lamps, 1 couch, 3 curtain rods, 3 shower curtains, 1 blender, 1 TV, 1 radio, 3 toes, my own. I broke the blender when I squeezed 3 tubes of toothpaste and a bottle of glue into it. I broke my toes attempting to swing from a lamp fixture on the ceiling. I broke 46 glasses. Well, it turns out there are many ways to break a glass. Every weekend, Mac and Helen took me in their convertible to a fast food restaurant where they ordered me French fries and a strawberry shake. Mac loved to see the expression on the cashier's face when he drove up and said, "Could I have some extra ketchup for my kid?" I went to baseball games, to the grocery store, to a movie theater, even to a circus. They didn't have a gorilla. I rode a little motorbike and blew out candles on a birthday cake. My life as a human was a glamorous one, although my parents, the traditional sorts, would not have approved. So his father, the silverback, would not have approved of his new life. Hunger. In my new life as a human, I was well tended. I ate lettuce leaves with Thousand Island dressing and caramel apples and popcorn with butter. My belly ballooned, so it got bigger. But hunger, like food, comes in many shapes and colors. At night, lying alone in my Pooh pajamas, the Winnie the Pooh pajamas, I felt hungry for the skilled touch of a grooming friend. So a gorilla friend, to groom him. For the cheerful grunts of a playful fight, like the squabbling that he and his sister did. For the easy safety of my nearby troop, or his gorilla family, foraging through the shadows. Remember what happened to Tag, I told myself. Don't think about the jungle. So he saw Tag only remembering what happened in the jungle, and he didn't want that to happen to himself, and so he said, okay, I can't think of what I used to know. Do you think this is what led him up to stop remembering? So we find out Tag doesn't make it because she wouldn't stop remembering She wouldn't give up her past. And sometimes, as hard and painful as it is, we have to keep moving forward with the future, even if things are different, like wearing masks and dealing with COVID. This is different, but we have to keep moving forward. This is what Ivan did. He kept moving forward. But he chose to forget. Still, sometimes I lay awake, wishing for the warmth of another just like me, asleep in a night nest of tender prayer plant leaves. I liked having sips of soda poured into my mouth like a bubbling waterfall. Poured into his mouth like a bubbling waterfall. Yeah, simile. But every now and then I longed to search for a tender stalk of arrowroot to fill the tease of a mango just out of reach. Still life. One day, Helen came home with something large and flat wrapped in brown paper. "Look what I bought today," she said excitedly as she tore off the paper. "A painting to go over the living room couch." "Fruit in a bowl," Max said with a shrug. "Big deal." "This is fine art. It's called Still Life," Helen explained, "and I think it's lovely." I dashed over to examine the painting, marveling at the colors and shapes. "See," said Mac's wife, "Ivan likes it." Remember, he's the artist. Of course he's going to like it. "Ivan likes to roll up poop and throw it at squirrels," Mac said. So maybe Ivan doesn't always have the best choices. A ball of poop is called a what now? A meatball. I couldn't take my eyes off the apples and bananas and grapes in the picture. They looked so real, so inviting, so edible or able to be eaten. I reached out to touch a grape, and Helen slapped my hand. "Bad boy, Ivan. Don't touch." She jerked a thumb at Mac. "Honey, go get a hammer and a nail, would ya?" While Mac and Helen were busy in the living room, I wandered into the kitchen. A cake covered in thick chocolate frosting sat on the counter. I like cake. Love it, in fact. But it wasn't eating I was thinking about. It was painting. The frosting peaked and dipped like waves on a tiny pond. It looked rich and gooey, dark and smooth. It looked like mud. Did you see all those sensory words in that? And there was a comparison. It compared the frosting to waves on a pond. Use the word like. What is that? Right? A simile. He said it was rich and gooey and dark and smooth. So rich could be taste, gooey, touch, dark, sight, smooth, touch. It looked like mud. I scooped up a handful of frosting. I scooped up another. What's he gonna do? He's gonna paint. I headed to the refrigerator door. It was perfect. An empty, white, waiting canvas. The frosting wasn't as easy to work with as jungle mud. It was stickier and, of course, more tempting to eat. But I kept at it. I scraped off every last bit of that frosting. I may have eaten a little cake, too. I don't remember what I was trying to paint. A banana, most likely. I suppose I knew I was going to get into trouble. But at that moment, I just didn't care. I wanted to make something, anything, the way I used to. I wanted to be an artist again. Punishment. I soon learned that humans can screech even louder than monkeys. After that, I was never allowed in the kitchen. Babies. Back in those days, the Big Top Mall was smaller. It had a pony ride, a wooden train that bustled around the parking lot, a few bedraggled parrots, and a surly spider monkey. But when Mac brought me, a baby gorilla dressed in a crisp tuxedo, to the mall, everything changed. People came from far and wide to have their pictures taken with me. They brought me blocks and a toy guitar. They held me in their laps. Once I even held a baby in mine. She was small and slippery. Bubbles flowed from her lips. She squeezed my fingers. Her rear was puffy with padding. Her legs bowed like bent twigs. That's very full of descriptions. Small and slippery, how she feels and her size. Bubbles flowed from her lips. She squeezed his fingers. Her rear was puffy with padding. What type of puffy padding would a baby have on its bottom? That's hard to say. Yeah, diaper. Her legs bowed like bent twigs. So think about a baby's legs. They kind of curve in a little bit instead of sticking straight out. I made a face. She made a face. I grunted. She grunted. I was so afraid that she would fall that I squeezed her tightly, and then her mother yanked her away. I wonder if my mother ever worried about dropping us. We always held on, but that's easier to do if your mother is furry. Human babies are an ugly lot, but their eyes are like our babies' eyes. Too big for their faces, and for the world. Beds. One day, after many weeks of loud talking, Helen packed a bag and slammed the front door and never came back. I don't know why. I never know the why of humans. That night I slept with Mac in his bed. My old nests were woven of leaves and sticks and shaped like his bathtub. Cool green cocoons. Mac's bed, like mine, was flat, hot, without sticks or stars. Still, he made sleeping sound like a rumble. He made a sleeping sound like the rumble my father used to make when all was well. A sound from deep inside his belly. What was Mac doing? Yeah, he was snoring. My place. Mac grew sullen. I grew bigger. I became what I was meant to be. Too large for chairs. Too strong for hugs. Too big for human life. I tried to stay calm, to move with dignity. I did my best to eat daintily. It's very gingerly. But human ways are hard to learn, especially when you're not a human. When I saw my new domain, I was thrilled. And who wouldn't have been? It had no furniture to break, no glasses to smash, no toilets to drop Mac's keys into. It even had a tire swing. I was relieved to have my own place. Somehow, I didn't realize I'd be here quite so long. Now I drink Pepsi, eat old apples, watch reruns on TV. But many days I forget what I'm supposed to be. Am I a human? Am I a gorilla? Humans have so many words, more than they truly need. Still, they have no name for what I am. So we're going to stop right there for now. No words to describe what Ivan is. So he's saying he's not really a gorilla. He doesn't live in the wild. He doesn't have anyone to protect. But he's not really human either. He's too big to stay in the house. He broke everything. So what is he? Human? Gorilla? Something in the middle? He says there's not really any name for him. All of those pages, I love that section of the book. Because it's the first time we get to find out more of Ivan. So as we continue reading the next few chapters, we're going to really see Ivan remembering and all of these memories of his life opening up. So I hope you enjoyed those. I hope you enjoy listening to the next few chapters. We will read those in the next video. Bye, guys.